Thank you very much for joining us today on Techopia Live. For those of you that's been hanging onto your seats waiting for this broadcast to start, thank you very much for hanging in there with us. As you know, this is live, and that's what we love about this, because it really brings out the real CEOs and executives and amazing startups and companies we have here to really showcase who they are. And today I'm fortunate because I'm sitting with David Ross from Ross Video. Thank you so much, David, for making some time for us today.
Thanks for having me.
I know we're on a tight schedule, and I know you got a lot of things to do. I know that global and world domination is actually on your schedule, which for most people is really can I get through the day and can I get some funding? But I'm so happy to have you here today because, firstly, let's just recognize the fact that, you were represented and awarded CEO of the Year just a couple of years ago. You were, of course, you've been recognized in the media so many times, and you are definitely one of Ottawa's key success stories. And it's not just been an overnight success, it's been 40 years of success. So what I want to do is, let's just talk for a moment, firstly, what is Ross Video? How big is Ross Video really? Because here behind us we have some showcases and examples of some of the switches and some of the technology that you have, but you are so much more. I mean, 40 years, if we can try and squeeze that into a minute or two answer, that's great, but maybe you can give us a little overview. What is Ross Video?
Okay, well, the elevator, single one-liner is we make the products and provide the services to do high-end live video production. But then when you get deeper into that, you say, well, we're 650 people. We have a manufacturing plant. We have offices around the world, and we do quite a bit with those 650 people. So we have technologies for creating video that span pretty far. I don't know how many other companies can actually claim this. We go everything from being able to make hardware-based products, and that we put on circuit boards, and we make control panels and with video faders and things like that. But then we move into things that work on GPUs and computers for doing graphics and putting scores up on screens and things like that, which then go into virtual and augmented reality. And then we move further into software that involves cloud processing, for example. We've just launched our first few cloud products. And then we go all the way into things like robotics, where we actually machine parts and do camera motion systems and things like that. And then fiber optics, and now we're moving into IP and doing 12 gigabit a second uncompressed 4K video over standard networks and things like that. And we actually got some of that running live recently, and so it's really broad, the portfolio of what we make. And I think we went that broad because our customers need these things. It's kind of interesting. Like, you sit there as a technology company, and you think, I'm going to be good at one thing. This is my personal expertise, so that's what I'm going to do, cryptography or something like that. But in Ross's case, we branched out saying, well, what are all the different things that our customers need us to do, and they need them to work together, and then we will develop those technologies regardless of where they all the different disciplines required. And the second half of this is, not only do we provide these products and manufacture and design them, but we actually also use them ourselves, which is also, I think, unique in our industry. So in the United States, primarily based in Fort Lauderdale, actually, we have Ross Mobile Productions. So we have 6 broadcast vehicles, and they travel all across the United States. Every now and then they make it up into Canada, and we do live video production, primarily games for NBC, for Fox Sports, for ESPN, and if you're watching some of those channels live on TV, usually for college level sports, as often as not, it could be us. Yeah.
That's fascinating. So you are literally everywhere. So we've really actually engaged with Ross Video on probably more levels than we can ever expect to. Now, just to kind of touch a little bit, and I know you kind of just brush over it, through the 40 years, you've created so much great content, equipment really, with the intent really to make products that work and it is really of use to your to your clients, and of course to yourself. I mean, just recently you posted, and I mentioned to you just before we started on LinkedIn, you had a switcher that's literally been just recently decommissioned. And what's wonderful about that, once again, is just showing the quality of the products that you've made. But maybe you can speak a little bit towards, for yourself, how is that in general for you as a company, but maybe just for business in general and any companies that's trying to create a product? How is that changing? Is it still very important to try and make a piece of equipment that can last as long as possible, or is it also fair to assume that even if you make a great product, there's a possibility that it might be obsolete in a much shorter time than it used to be?
Wow, that's a big question. But it's funny because when we design products today, the rigor that we go through is absolutely incredible. Like first, making sure we have the right product for the customer, and then we go through high-level specifications and detailed specifications and lots of review, peer review, write the code, and design things, and teams of people double-checking what it is, and then test plans for testing it, all integrated with the R&D processes. And then when you build it, if it's hardware, we put it into thermal chambers and run it down to like minus 10 degrees and run it up to 40 degrees, make sure that all works. Then we pound at it and run it, cycle test it and everything else. And we make these products that we hopefully work really well. And what I posted on LinkedIn was, well, the second product my dad ever made, like the second version, in the basement of our house, ran for 40 years. So who really knows? I mean, he built it literally with his own hands. Wow. So are we overthinking this? But the reality is, sometimes products that we're designing now are obsolete in as little as 3 years. It's almost like making iPhones sometimes. But other times we will see our products out there for 10, 20, 30 years, and our customers certainly expect us, after the last time we ship it, to support it for 7 to 10 years.
Wow. And I know a key aspect of your business, and you mentioned that, is that you really listen to your customers and you try and find ways how you can empower them and integrate with their systems and some of the stuff that they use as well, using you as well. How important do you think that is in general, just for any business that is trying to get into that manufacturing product aspect and trying to just expand the options for their products?
Oh, to go into adjacencies, you mean? I think that's actually are extremely important. I guess you could say there's two kinds of companies. There's one kind of company that is designing the company for sale, and often they'll say, I want to be part of, I don't know, Nokia or something like that, and so I see something that they're missing. I'm going to design it and get really close so they can buy me, and I get out. Yes. That's one way to do it. The other side of it is, I want to build a company that's going to be around for a while, and it doesn't matter what you make, almost. It's going to be obsolete, changed. It's going to be replaced by some new concept quite rapidly. And if you have two products, if one starts to phase out, then you have the opportunity to counterbalance it with money coming in from the other products. We call this legs on the table. And so the more things you have that are adjacent to the products you make, the more stable your company is, the more you can fight back against heavy competition in any one area, and the more that you can do for your customers. It also helps you sleep at night.
Exactly. Fair enough, that's helpful. And I think what you just mentioned is the ability to have those pieces in place, those legs on the table, just in case. And clearly you have figured that out, because it's 40 years now, and we had this discussion before where you have been year over year, if you take any 5-year span at a time, you've been growing 17%, and that is pretty spectacular. And what would you attribute that to? I mean, clearly your approach in business is already a key factor of that, but what do you feel is maybe some other aspect that you feel has really added to just keeping you that competitive and keeping you growing at that rate?
Oh boy.
No, it's like, and I have a long list, but maybe just a few.
Well, one of the things is people. A company is only people, and one of the things I like to say is, the key to growth is hiring really great people and don't piss them off. Yeah. And you think it's funny, and it is,
but it's very true.
It's very, very true. I mean, most of the entrepreneurs that I'll see in a room, if I'm talking to a room of entrepreneurs, I'll say, put up your hands as to how many of you got pissed off by your employer. Not that you had a great idea, but you left because you didn't want to work there anymore. And what I'll see is I'll see like 90% of the hands go up in the room. So these are the brilliant geniuses that, and the powerhouses of these companies that they let go. They literally let them walk out the door because they didn't manage their people correctly. So I think that that is hugely important, because those entrepreneurs could be actually inside your company and pulling together and making a Ross video. So I think that's one of the things. Another one is not getting greedy. How many companies that they get to a certain point and then the owner or the investor says, great, now I'm going to take most of the profits off the table and put them into my pocket, and I want to live in a big house and have a big car, and I want it, or I want to sell out, and then it disappears. It becomes part of another company and then maybe drifts away. And we see too many Ottawa companies actually doing that. But I think that's another thing, is being focused on the company, focused on the customers, not being greedy, and just reinvesting in your own company. Another thing that I've found anyway is the best way to fund your company is through selling to your customers. I don't know how many times I talk to people that are like, oh, what's the best way? I need to raise $1 million, $2 million. Well, why? You've got a company. You're already making money. You're not desperate anymore. Oh, we've got to grow faster. By selling half your company? What's that going to mean to you in the long term? So you could get there in a year if you just waited and you own it all. You know, just manage your company a little bit, maybe more aggressively and conservatively at the same time, by going for it yourself.
Yeah, instead of feeling like that there's this, you know, a little bit of patience, but yes, aggressively as well. So I love that, because I think that, once again, is something that is so unique about Ross Video, is the fact that you are playing, usually companies are trying to be acquired by other companies. You, on the other hand, are in a space where you are acquiring a lot of other companies and partnering. And maybe we can talk to that a little bit. How's that changed and added to Ross Video, just acquiring companies and expanding your offerings and what you do?
Oh, it's been huge. I mean, one of the things is, for example, when we decided we're going to get into robotics, you know, what's a bunch of programmers and circuit board engineers going to do to make the next generation world-class robot? So yeah, we said that's the sort of thing that we need to go out, buy the expertise, get the cash flow from a company that's actually already selling robots, and then take that, build it into Ross, add Ross quality branding, integrate it with our products, and then take the next generation as ours. But you have a stable platform to work from, and you can learn from, you know, your predecessors' mistakes. Other times, though, I mean, if you want to move into an adjacency, but it's using similar technology, you can do that in-house. So sometimes when you want to do something entirely new, I think you buy a company. When you want to be cost effective and have things that integrate really well with what you have, then you build it on what you already have. And if you can't do something new inside your company and you only have to acquire, then you've lost the spark.
Wow. Now, here's a tough question. And for those of you that's just joined us here on Techopia, we are here with CEO of Ross Video, David Ross. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for all this wealth of information you've shared. But I'm going to ask you one question. The question is, I guess, you know, what kind of keeps you awake at night? And what is the one thing that you want to make better or improve, or where you want to go, you know, for yourself?
Wow. What keeps me awake at night is probably the same thing that's kept me awake at night for the last 27 years that I've been working at Ross, at least not as a kid. It's trying to balance your desire to go faster with your need to go slower. That is a constant fight. One of the things you know, that people have said is that the successful know when to say no. And in fact, they say no more often than they say yes. And it's tough sometimes. There's an opportunity. No, we're focusing on this. There's another one. No. Let's hire 7 more people in that area. We can do this great thing. No, we need to have the cash flow. We need to make the money. We're already investing in this. We can't divert our attention. And then all of a sudden somebody says, and now we need to do this thing, which is a really big opportunity. And you go, yes, that's one. We will stretch for that. And so those types of decisions of saying no and yes for all the pressures, there's a million directions you want to go, but you have to do it at the right speed, or things fly off the wheels, or you run out of cash flow, or whatever else. And it's this It's like I like to describe it like sailing. If you know how to sail, if you want to go faster, you're going in one direction. You pull in the rope until the sail comes really tight, and you go faster and faster. But the faster you go, the closer the sailboat goes to the water, almost going right over the edges of the boat, right? And that's the moment when you're going the very fastest, but it's also the most dangerous, because one little wave will come and knock you over. And if you have to let go of the rope, everything goes to a dead stop. So the trick, just like in sailing, is in running a company, is finding that balance of speed and stability at the same time.
That's an awesome analogy. See, ladies and gentlemen, you don't just learn about tech, you learn about sailing too. Exactly. No, I love that. That's amazing. Well, David, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I know you got to get back and you know, just dealing with all the amazing things that's happening within your company. But thank you so much today for sharing some of your insight with us. We are so super proud to have you as such a amazing icon company, really, within our city, doing so much on both a local and global perspective. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
For those of you that's watching us here on Techopia, thank you very much for joining us. Make sure you go check out techopia.ca to get more information about what's coming up and, of course, learning more about the amazing companies. Have a great day. Bye.